On today's show, we head over to Portugal and to the Algarve International Circuit in Portimao as the Hankook 24-hour series continues its endurance odyssey with round 5, the 24 hours of Portimao. Then we stay overseas and delve into the world of FIA-sanctioned motor racing with the latest episode of FIA Pure Motorsport. And later in the show, we head across the UK and to Donington Park for round 6 of the FIM Sidecar World Championship. This is Speedweek.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another great episode of the 24-hour series powered by Hankook. It's been a couple of months since we've been racing. Now, time to go full throttle once again, this time for a full 24 hours. Fascinating motorsport in daylight, dusk and, most of all, at night. Every lap, flat out, extreme conditions for man and machine, always pushing the limit, but always staying cautious. If you want to win here, you've got to stick it out for the full 24 hours. But what is this virus that we call endurance racing? What's the special thing about 24-hour races? And what makes the drivers almost addicted to it?
I personally love endurance racing, so it's always great to be back with Preventing and go to, nice circuits like Portimao this weekend. And it's very nice to just build up into these races, and this is what I really personally like very much and always love to come back.
I think it's always a nice event. I think the surroundings are very good, the people are always friendly, and I think it's a very good atmosphere, and racing is always nice, so we have a lot of good competition always, and it's a fun series.
To ensure that everyone is on a level playing field on the track, the cars and teams are split into 2 divisions, GT and TCE, with 6 different classes. It's the 5th race of the 2022 season, and this weekend the drivers have to master the famous Autódromo International do Algarve just off the coast of Portimao. The circuit layout guarantees excellent entertainment with a technical mix of fast and slow corners that includes some massive elevation and gradient changes. It literally feels like riding a roller coaster, thanks to the many ups and downs, and it's certainly one of the most interesting racetracks in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic circuit, it's very technical and probably arguably one of my favourite tracks in Europe, along with Mugello. So, I guess to have some circuit knowledge, you can help the guys out, and there's a lot of time to be found, by having some knowledge of the circuit. So I try and pass that on and help them as much as I can.
Exactly. It's a very tough circuit. It's fun, it's twisty, it's bendy. You don't have a lot of time to relax here. But no, it's challenging and we love the challenge. That's why we're here.
Portimao is such an awesome place, and 24 hours here kind of seemed like a good idea until we showed up and it was about 90 degrees, and what you can't see is I'm completely covered in sweat.
The Portimao is an amazing circuit, also at the night. Yesterday I drove first time at the night session, so the view is amazing. I really like it.
So let's take a look at the key features of this 2.8 miles, that's 4.6 kilometre circuit, 15 corners here at the Autódromo do Algarve. Down the long start-finish straight, it's 969 metres. The GT3 cars upwards of 260 kilometres an hour, that's 160 miles an hour, before breaking downhill into Primera, that's turn 1. Flat out kink at turn through, then heavy on the brakes for a very slow right-hander going uphill at turn 3. Through the kink at turn 4, stay on the track on the right-hand side at the exit, over the brow, past the welcome Pineapple VIP Suites to turn 5. That's the hairpin at Torres. Then, straight through turn 6, into turn 7, you're climbing through the hill again. Turn 8, a little bit off camber here, then plunge downhill to corner number 9. That's the Craig Jones turn. Ten and 11 come up very quickly indeed, and then you're dropping back downhill again through turn 12. That's just a kink as well, really. Another hairpin at turn 13 before you're climbing uphill, and it's a difficult turn into 14 because you're turning and braking at the same time, then over the top of another rise and down to the magnificent final right-hand corner. Building speed all the time, tuck the nose in, get on the throttle early to get down that front straight nice and quickly. The first showdown at each race weekend is, of course, qualifying. 3 parts, 15 minutes each, 3 drivers per team out on the track pushing their cars to the limit to put in their fastest lap. Best lap per driver counts, and then you add all 3 team laps together, and the fastest average gets pole position. Some regulations of qualifying changed this weekend. No tyre changing or refuel allowed. 3 sessions then, all on one set of Hankook tyres, and the right amount of fuel has to go in the tank at the start. A new experience for the drivers, especially for those doing the 2nd or 3rd session.
The reglement has a little bit changed, so it's only allowed to use 1 set for the whole qualifying. That means 2 other drivers of our car have to use my tires. And so I thought to save the tires, and it should be enough after 2 laps.
It was the TCE division who qualified first, and it was a cracking battle for pole position. In 3rd, one of the well-known teams and very successful teams in Hankook 24-hour series racing, the all-Thai team BBR, in their Cupra, number 159. Not on pole position this weekend. After a 2nd place in qualifying in Hockenheim, the overall leader in the TCE Championship has to be content starting 3rd. Doing well in qualifying, the Wolf Power Racing team and the Swiss driver Jasmin Preissig putting in quick lap times on the tarmac, and after 2 of 3 sessions was in provisional pole position.
Yeah, it was very tough because it's so hot outside and inside the car, and I think it's for both, for the car and for the drivers, very hot. But I think I did a good qualifying, and so let's see what my teammate's gonna do now.
By the end of qualifying, they'd had to settle for 2nd place because ahead of them, the 2nd all-Thai team on the grid, the sister team of BBR. This is the 158, and in the 2nd and 3rd parts of qualifying, they were very impressive. 2 lap times under 1 minute 55 seconds. Their reward, the coveted pole position.
I thank you for the team, Monlau Motorsport, and thank you for the teammate for the Q1, Q2, and thank you for everyone to cheer me up.
Amazingly, the fight for pole position in GT was even closer than that of TCE. At the end, 24 thousandths of a second decided pole position. In 3rd, Herbert Motorsport and their number 91 Porsche. A conservative start for them in Q1, but they put down the best lap times in Q2 and Q3, taking the 3rd position. The fierce battle for pole position was evolving between the German WTM racing team with their Ferrari number 22. They were putting down brilliant lap times and took 2nd spot on the grid, a great starting position for the race. But one team even faster than all the others, the German Phoenix Racing team with their black and yellow Audi R8 LMS GT3 with the number 18 on the side and on the nose. Former DTM driver and winner of the 24-hour at the Nürburgring 2019, Pierre Kaffer, put the second fastest lap down overall with a 1:43.718, and that was good enough to secure them pole position at the front of the field.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we have quite some competition here, but we were able to manage it to keep the car on the road within track limits, because it's the most important. Unfortunately, one lap of mine got cut off, but however, we made it happen. So there they are.
And my life was very easy in Q3. I have to just drive a safe lap, and I did it. And the tire and the car is very good, thanks to Phoenix, who give us a very, very good car, and to my teammates. And yeah, I think it's not a bad position for tomorrow. Huh?
We know our new R8 Evo 2 is bulletproofed, and it shows already on the 24 hours on the Nordschleife that it's a decent car, and it was quite tricky to find the right setup. And honestly, we are really happy in these conditions to be on pole, because our other competitors, they are really strong. And I'm really looking forward for the race tomorrow, because I think we will have a great battle. And what I can say, I really like this championship, the Creventic. It's growing, and it's really nice to see. And also the battles between the other manufacturers is really nice, and I really like it.
Another fabulous performance from the number 903 Red Ant Racing team, claimed the pole position in the Porsche 992 category. In the GTX category, the green and black 710 Lippert Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo takes pole position. They had some cooling issues at Hockenheim, and it's even hotter this weekend. Hopefully they've managed to solve those. Last but not least, the GT4 pole sitter, the number 405 from Ram Racing in their AMG GT4, Phil Keane and his teammates with an impressive margin of more than 2.5 seconds between them and second place. After qualifying and under the light of the waxing gibbous moon, it's night practice. For many of the amateur drivers, their first time driving in complete darkness in race trim, full throttle through the night, without really seeing the reference points around the track. That's what gives a 24-hour race its special feel and character. So the night practice session, crucial for the drivers. They need to get used to racing just with their headlights and to feel familiar with the unlit areas of the track. Saturday, race day. Lots of nervous energy and excitement in the air. The mechanics and drivers checking every last detail. A full day, a long time for man and machine in the heat, and both need to be functioning at their very best.
We have our engineer for this, and Phoenix Racing does a very great job. I mean, my main point is to drive the car and give the right proper feedback. And of course, from my experience the last couple of years, I try to help them as much as possible, because I think the Creventic series is a very unique series and is very growing up. And as I said yesterday already, I really like this championship, and it was so close yesterday in the qualifying, and I'm really happy to be on my Audi Evo 2. And the Phoenix guys have done a really great preparation, and it's quite hot today. I think after the start, I think everyone will look after the tires, and it's quite a challenge to bring the tires over the distance. So we will see how we can handle this with our Audi.
Well, we need to stay out of trouble. I think that's one thing. The other thing is keep within the track limits. It's an important thing here in Portimao. And then we will see. I think the package is really good for our Ferrari, and yeah, looking forward to battle with the Phoenix car. Of course, you make a rough plan. We'd like to do some strategy with the drivers as well, also in the night. So we have a roughly plan, but of course, when there's a full course yellow or a code 60, it will change a bit. But we have a rough plan, yeah.
No matter the strategy, every team aiming for one thing.
We always look for that overall podium. We always want to be there. So yeah, we'll be aiming for it.
Super competitive in the 992 class. That should make for great race excitement.
It's a long race, 24 hours. Will be a close fight with 4 cars, but I'm looking forward to it. So we'll see where we end up by the night and see from then.
24 hours, a real endurance. Patience, always a good idea.
No, I mean, I think we were actually just talking about it strategy-wise. It's going to be, heat management, meaning driver heat management in the next few hours and then tire heat management. So we can't push hard in the beginning. I'm not going to try and play with the GT3s. I'm just going to do my thing, and and then as it cools off, then we'll pick up the pace. But yeah, so it's going to be a chill start.
Diversity of cars and drivers makes this series special. Katrina Kivalova is more used to racing classic Bentleys.
The classic cars for me, they sort of have a soul. I do connect with the classic cars a little bit more than these, but I absolutely love the professional side of the GTs, and it's down to driver. In the classic cars, we always have the book of excuses because the car here and there. We don't have it here. You can't hide. It's just down to driver. So I really enjoy, this side of racing and the rewarding feeling, I get from both. So that's the idea.
Overall championship leader in TCE, the all-tie Team BBR.
The team, we've raced together since go-karts, pretty much almost everybody in the whole team. So
we raced against those guys.
Yes, against them back in the day, and now we're all here together. So it feels like it's come full circle. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here, and I really have to thank the team owner, Kun Anuson, for bringing this team together and giving us this opportunity to show what Thai drivers can do.
Let's have a look at how they line up for the start. It's Phoenix Racing on pole position, WTM for Ferrari in second, Herbert Motorsport for Porsche in third, fourth CP Racing, fifth Santalock in the Audi, Red Ant Racing the best of the 992s in sixth. On the fourth row, Leipert in the Lamborghini in seventh, Red Camel Jordan.nl in their Porsche in eighth. So the tension was rising as the cars headed off on the warm-up lap. 24 hours, a demanding race ahead of the teams and drivers. By Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock, the lead would have changed 26 times and the winners completed more than 700 laps. As the red light went out, we had the first attack almost immediately. Indy Donchi in the WTM Racing Ferrari trying to take the lead from Pierre Caffer in the Phoenix Racing Audi. Good start for Christian Kelders in the Santalock Racing Audi. He was in fourth position and went round the outside to take third place from Daniel Ollermann in the Herbert Porsche. Further back in the field, as always, plenty of battling going on. Drivers completely focused. Unfortunately, no crashes in this early running, but a long way still to go. Getting away from the start with a good pace and in good position, very important, but staying out of trouble. Also top of the list if you want to have a good result. Endurance racing never won during the first couple of laps. Daniel Ollermann in the black Porsche number 91 was defending quite hard early on, trying to keep the Santalock Racing behind him in fourth and CP Racing in fifth. The CP average age of the drivers is 57, the oldest team on the grid. The old acquaintances of the 24-hour series seem to be on a mission. All going well in this early running. No crashes, no spins, cars lined up behind one another like a string of pearls. That was the first lap then. Bit of action, what more can you ask for? Real racing right at the start of the 24 hours and things just beginning to heat up. It looked like the Audi of Phoenix Racing was set up perfectly. Pierre Caffer gained a few seconds on the rest of the field. A comfortable lead for the German team. Behind the leader, battle for position, Nicholas Barton, the Santalock Racing Audi, was pushing hard to try and get in position to overtake Indy Donchi in the Ferrari of WTM Racing. And almost inevitably, it happened at the end of the start-finish straight. Bart on the inside line, past the Dutch driver in the Ferrari. Sandlock Racing up to second, WTM into third. The battle for the lead in the 992 class for Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars started right from the first lap between Red Ant Racing, the 903, and the 909 of Red Camel Jordan.nl. Rick Breukers in the orange Porsche was hot on the heels of Eitan Randont in the red car in front of him. Down the back straight towards turn number 5, Breukers using the slipstream and then a super bit of late braking at the bottom of the hill. He takes the lead. Great racing from the young Dutchman. Early trouble for the BMW M4 GT4 of Team ACP Tangerine Associates. Their number 421 BMW has an issue. Very slowly around the track and had to come back to the pits. Just 6 laps into the race, the team had their hands full finding the error. They'll not forget this race in a hurry. Meanwhile, everything going well for the Thai Team BBR after starting from pole position. The drivers coping well with the heat in their number 158 Cupra Leon competition. Start driver Sandy Stuvik was cruising in first position in the TCE division. Just 15 minutes in and the number 26 blue Audi of Santalock Racing was looming large in the mirrors of Phoenix Racing at the front of the field. The battle for the lead continued for several laps. Pierre Caffer managing to defend his lead, but this promises to be literally a hot race. Herbeth Motorsport, the 91 Porsche team, used to winning, but had no luck here in Portimao. The first team to damage a tyre. Remember, many drivers saying tyre management would be key with the high temperatures. The whole left rear of the car has taken some punishment, and that'll take the mechanics a long time to get the car back on track. So just a few minutes after the start of the race, the first code 60. This is effectively a virtual safety car, 60km speed limit around the track. That gives a safe environment for marshals to get into action and deal with any recovery required. And a good option to use for the teams at this stage to do their first pit stop for fuel and new Hankook tyres. The right fuelling strategy, crucially important in this 24-hour race. During code 60, you're only allowed to put 50% of the normal fuel allowance. It will get crowded in the fueling area, so it's important to have good communication with your team and come in at the right time when you can get on a fuel pump. The race leaders, Phoenix and Santalock Racing, took their opportunity to pit at that first code 60, and when we went back green, the battle started for the lead all over again. The two Audi R8 GT3s were the fastest cars on the track. Only the number 22 Ferrari GT3 of WTM Racing could match their speed. They were following the leading Audis with a bit of a margin. CP Racing in 4th, already half a minute back. So after the code 60 induced first round of pit stops, it was Lippert Motorsport in first position in GTX class. They're staying calm and the car is running very well. Red Ant, the number 903, back in the lead in the 992 class. This is literally a family duel category. The Belgian Red Ants are fighting against the Dutch Breukers family. And in GT4, the number 405 leading the category for the British Ram Racing team with their fabulous pinstripe livery. The first big incident of Saturday was for the number 701 Vortex, which spun coming out of turn 3 and hit the right-hand side guardrail. That meant another code 60, and when the car came back to the pit lane, it was clear that the frontal damage would mean a lot of work for the brave Vortex team. The mechanics took many hours to get the car back in shape and back on track. After a little more than 3 hours and 100 laps under the belt, things were looking better for Red Camel Jordan.nl. they'd worked their way up to 3rd position overall. With fewer GT3 cars on the grid here in Portimao, overall podium position is not out of reach. But of course, here, there was still a long way to go. Nothing had changed up front. Elliot Earhart in the Phoenix Racing Audi putting constant fast times in on the hot tarmac. The blistering heat on the track and in the cars, demanding everything from man and machine.
Oh, it's going to be hot. It's, you know, in the U.S. we race typically in a little more heat than Europe. It's a little bit hotter normally in the U.S. than here. But by any standards, this is hot. This is going to be a challenge for the cars, for the machines, and for the drivers.
I mean, relatively early in my stint, about 20 minutes in, we got a gearbox compressor over temp alarm and started having some issues, so I immediately stopped using second gear everywhere on the circuit. and luckily I was able to manage that through my stint, but as the temps have been coming up, it's just been getting worse and worse, and so you know, with the long code 60 with PJ in the car, it cooled down enough, and then he went racing again, and then he was just getting the alarm everywhere, so they pulled the car in and pulled the floor off, and we're trying to figure out something to get some more air up there. I mean, our water temp is as high as I've ever seen on a Porsche. It's running like 113 degrees C, and it's like, you know, what I would consider the old days. It's 90 degrees F out. We have no air conditioning, no cool suit. It's 120 degrees inside the car, and you're just surviving.
Basically, the car's at the limit, and we just want to make sure we finish. So we don't want to beat on it too much. And then it's only going to get harder with the heat. This stint was a double. We're going to try a double again, but then I don't think it's going to be very hard to do so. You know, look at me. I drank my entire drink bottle in an hour, basically, which was hot like soup. And so second hour, no water, and it's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse. It's not even the hottest point of the day yet.
Hydration played a vital role in these hot conditions. However, having a pool in the paddock wasn't the worst idea either.
That swimming pool you see out there, it is very serious. It's not a joke. I mean, the minute I get out of the car, I've got something special I mix, I drink, I throw a set of trunks on, I go directly in there to get the body temperature down, because I mean, as you guys know, just even here, pit reporting up and down how really hot it is. Core temperature is hard to keep down. In the drink bottle inside the car, my first stint in, I literally couldn't drink it. It was so hot. On the brake pedal, there's some grip tape on there. It melted to my shoe. So, yeah, and my recovery in the swimming pool is serious.
It wasn't only the drivers that were suffering in these difficult conditions. The tyres were stressed as well, especially on the left-hand side of the cars on this predominantly right-handed circuit. So management of your tyres key, and those that didn't treat their tyres carefully could expect problems.
Many cars are struggling with the tyres, and so also we are really driving very carefully. So we could not push, or we are a little bit afraid to push. And so, but at least we hope that with our softs running now, we hope that we don't have any more punctures. I think this would be the key to be in front at the end of the race.
Every one of these issues meant an unplanned visit to the pits. That cost time. So being kind to your tyres was the mantra for Saturday. At the front, Phoenix Racing and CP Racing were swapping positions depending on their pit stop cycle, and no other team could get to their pace. In third position, WTM Racing and their Ferrari were already 4 laps behind. They had to do 2 more pit stops because of tyre issues. In the TCE division, it took the number 159 of the BBR team more time than they'd planned to get up to the lead. By lap 107, however, that time had come. Kantasak Kusiri setting excellent lap times and then manages to go up the inside of the 116 of Wolf Power Racing, and that's the lead. By the time we got to quarter distance, the race was settling into a bit of a pattern, with Phoenix Racing and CP Racing 1 and 2, WTM Racing in third with their Ferrari, and the best of the Porsches in a very creditable fourth position for Red Camel Jordan.nl. They were ahead of the two Red Ant Racing cars in 5th and 6th, Leipert leading GTX inside the top 7. In TCE, BBR 1 and 2, with the 159 car having fought its way to the front, Wolf Power Racing in third ahead of AC Motorsports Audi in fourth, and the Viper Nisa Racing number 165 in fifth, Lestrup Racing in sixth. As the sun began to set, a star was on the rise. Team ACP Tangerine Associates were finally back on the track. They'd spent almost 6 hours in the pits and only turned 6 laps. This was true endurance racing spirit. But just as they got going, it wasn't running at full speed. The car still had the problem in the system, and even Master Yoda on the dashboard, problem fix could not, and the force wasn't helping the ambitious team. Car back into the pits, and the mechanics searching once again for the error. In the lead of the 992 class, it'd been a pretty perfect race so far for Red Camel Jordan.nl. They had more than a lap lead over Red Ant Racing. Overall, in fourth position, still hoping for a podium? Well, it's still in reach. Drama in the pit lane and a moment of shock for WTM Racing. In third position and a problem with the Ferrari. The mechanics pushed it into the garage for a further inspection.
So now I had to come in the pit because I was stuck in the third gear, and I couldn't do anything. So when we came into the pit, we could do gearbox reset, and now I don't know. But yeah, I hope it's working again. Huh? Yeah, it came half a lap ago. It was just boop. I thought, okay, something wrong. And then I could go some corners, but then I stuck.
Was that the downshift or the upshift?
Both. Both. I couldn't even upshift nor both downshift.
At the front of the field, meanwhile, Phoenix Racing and CP Racing were still in cruise mode and clicking off one fast lap after another. They weren't quite on the same pit lane strategy though, so as each one of the teams came in, the lead changed. At this point in the twilight, the Germans of Phoenix Racing in the lead, a lap ahead of the American CP Racing team. The GTX class was the battle of the Lamborghinis. Leipert Motorsport in the 710, keeping the lead ahead of the Lithuanian RD Sainz team with their number 720. Both Lambos at this juncture in good shape and not overheating so far. 7 hours into the race and the sun set behind the picturesque hills of the Algarve. Night settling in, and with it the temperatures finally dropping. The biggest challenge now for the drivers is not the heat, but the complete darkness around the track. That means even more concentration and focus was needed. Even experienced drivers like Nicola Michelon in the RD Sainz Lamborghini can make mistakes, which they probably would never normally do. But fortunately, nothing serious happened in this one, and he was back on track immediately. Like the temperatures, the race action cooled down a little bit as most of the teams settled in to their positions. The main focus at this point is surviving and getting safely through the night hours. But whether day or night, every pit stop needed to be faultless. Team CP Racing showed how it should be done. Halfway through the race and in GT, Phoenix Racing still in the lead ahead of CP Racing. WTM holding on to third with Red Ant Racing now in fourth. Red Camel Jordan in fifth, and the second of the Red Ant Porsche 992s in sixth. Herbert Motorsport back in the top 8 in seventh position. Eighth, the Lamborghini of RD Sainz leads GTX. A familiar look to the TCE standings after 12 hours. BBR's Cooper number 159 leading from Wolf Power's Audi in second, and the BBR 158 Cooper in third. So into the second half of the race, and the teams continuing their stiff competition right throughout the Portuguese night. Good morning, or bom dia as the Portuguese say it. Time for another great day of racing. 6 hours still on the clock, an awful lot of time where anything could happen. And in fact, it had happened already, because the race for Herbeth Motorsport, the number 91, was over by breakfast time. After a brave fight back into the top 8, the race was over for the ambitious team. Down at turn 5, the scene of their earlier problem with their left rear tyre not pointing in the right direction. Daniel Ollerman out of the car, and the car out of the race. The resulting code 60 for recovery of the Porsche, a perfect opportunity for all the leaders to come into the pits for a full service. New tyres, topping up the fuel, and for some, a driver change. This early morning code 60 balanced things up a little bit, and after almost 18 hours, 520 laps completed, 20 pit stops or more, and 10 code 60s, only 7/10 of a second between the leader Phoenix Racing from the second place CP Racing team. The race was starting pretty much at zero once again. With both cars now on the same pit strategy, Pierre Caffer put in some very quick lap times and slowly but surely broke away from Charles Putman in the number 85 AMG GT3. Third position still WTM Racing, and the Ferrari team pushing hard to try and catch up with the two front teams. Currently, they're 2.5 minutes behind. In the TCE division, the 159 Cupra, that's the BBR team from Thailand, have been leading the pack for more than 8 hours and built up an almost unbelievable 23-lap lead over the next car in their class. 6 unpredictable hours on the clock, but something very odd would have to happen if they were not to take the top step of the podium. Second position, AC Motorsport, running relatively smoothly, and things looking good for them at this stage. Behind them in third, Wolf Power Racing. A little ride into the gravel trap, fairly indicative of their race. They'd had a few minor and some more major problems that gave them setbacks. The victory not really in their view. Lithuanian RD Signs teams in the black Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo have stayed away from any bigger issues. They lead the GTX class. And in GT4, it's the Ram Racing number 405. All 4 drivers have stayed calm and put in consistent, fast laps on the tarmac. In the 992 class, it's the Belgian Red Ant family, number 903, back in the lead with their Porsche 911 GT3 Cup. But what happened to the Red Camel Jordan NL team? The Breukers family had led the 992 class for hours before we went into the darkness. The onboard camera captured the drama which unfolded overnight. There was a damaged exhaust which overheated and caused problems with the left-hand side drive shaft. The race strategists decided to complete 50% of the race distance. That meant that they would get 50% of the overall series ranking points, and after they had reached that milestone, they retired the car. So the 992 class, well, we can now rename that to Red Ant Racing class, the team running first and second. With 20 hours gone, quite a few changes to report for GT at least. CP Racing now leading with WTM Ferrari second and Phoenix in third with their Audi. The 2 Red Ant 992s, fourth and fifth. RD Signs lead GTX, and Ram Racing at the head of GT4 and 8th in the GT division. In TCE, still BBR at the front of the field. They've really made this class their own, ahead of AC Motorsport in second, Wolf Power in third, and the 700 Miles French team, the 106, now in fourth position. With 4 hours to go, the exciting 3-way battle at the top was entering its final phase. The outside temperatures rising, and the pulse rates of the teams too. Pierre Caffer going flat out to catch up the 2 cars ahead of him. CP Racing in from the lead after a great stint from Charles Esplanade. New Hankook tyres, new driver, and they take a full tank of fuel as well. Shane Lewis installed in the car.
Well, it's been a good race for us. We feel pretty fortunate to be where we are actually right now. still 4 hours to go, as you know, and things change a lot in the last 4 hours. The hard part of the day is yet to come. We'll have the heat. You know, everyone tries to just kind of hang on for the night. And of course, we were struggling for position the whole night, as was the 18 car, you know, flipping back and forth on the pit stop. So I think we're still about where we were in that position. It just sort of depends on who gets the code 60s and where we are. They have a little pace on us, they're a little bit quicker. But if things work out right, we're both in the mix. Right now, what we're watching is the Ferrari coming up behind us. They're doing really fast times. And so it's from my standpoint, it's really a three-way race right now for those top three positions, unless somebody really screws something up. Well, we thought we had really prepared our car for the heat. And the code 60 halfway, there was a couple of tire failures early on a couple of the other cars. We took advantage, came in under one of those, and we noticed our tires were not doing really good either. So we kind of gave driver orders, you know, let's stay off the curbs a bit, let's take care of the tires on acceleration and do what we can through the heat of the day. But really I think that peak time really happens about that 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So yesterday when the race started, that was the worst period that we had for about 3 or 4 hours. I think we'll see a little of that again here right at the end of the race, just as everyone's trying to go at 110% to get to that checkered flag. So it should be entertaining and interesting.
WTM Racing were indeed hot on their heels, but on the same strategy, so came into the pits at almost the same time as CP. That gave Pierre Caffer the chance to make up some precious time on the track. And Phoenix Racing needed Caffer and his speed more than ever, because Elia Earhart was injured during a pit stop at night and couldn't continue.
Yeah, the race is good for us so far. There's a lot of driving time for Michael. Doppelmayr is happy with the car and had a lot of fun, so that's the most important for us. And for sure, also the other drivers are happy. We are also happy that Elia is back from the hospital and everything is fine with the fingers, only a bit scratched. So yeah, everybody is happy and we keep fighting until the end. Yeah, we had to change a bit because of Elia. So now Sven Herberger have to do a lot of more driving time. We have now 10 hours in total. And Pierre is limited to 8 hours. So he can only do this 8 hours. And yeah, the rest will do now Sven. We have 2.5 hours for Michael. He is finished now. And Elia have 3.5 hours. He cannot drive anymore with the hand. And yeah, that's it.
A complete change of team strategy from Phoenix required to get the right driver in the right car and get the car to the checkered flag at 2 o'clock on Sunday. Elia Earhart did return to the pit lane.
Yeah, I was in the hospital in the night and everything is fine. And yeah, it's okay. We had a small problem at the pit. The door was not possible to open. I had my finger there and then, yeah, that's it. But everything is fine thanks to all guys who helped me. And yeah, we drove one stint in the night also, but now I have to take care.
Does it hurt?
It's open.
It hurt? Yes, yes. This is a face of a brave man.
Under 2 hours to go and drama in the GTX class. RD Sainz and the 720 Lamborghini leading the category. And the car has come to a halt at turn 5. Just as in Hockenheim, it seems this team has no luck at all. Their 4-lap lead was disappearing fast. The overall leaders both came into the pits, but slightly different strategy. Pierre Caffer drove in, got tyres, drove out and retook the lead as the CP racing car went in for fuel. So after 22.5 hours, it's reset again and the fight begins to the checkered flag. The beneficiary of the problems for RD Sainz was Leifer Motorsport, the number 710, picking off that 4-lap deficit and retaking the lead in the GTX category. Now, all they had to do was get to the flag. Phoenix Racing came into the pit lane for their last scheduled stop just inside the last hour. Pierre Caffa had no more time left on that stint, so handed over to Sven Herberger. The gap to CP Racing, 3 minutes and 40 seconds. So Sven's mission was absolutely clear. Get your foot down, run qualifying laps and try to reduce the margin to CP Racing as much as possible, as they had to stop one more time as well. Third place WTM team put everything on the line, but Herberger and Esplanade were just too quick, so they couldn't make up the time. Even new brakes didn't make a difference. They'd have to be content with third position. Crunch time for the leader and their final pit stop. And it's a picture book affair, nothing to complain about. Shane Lewis bringing the car to the checkered flag. So the only question now, how much fuel do they need? Will they come out of the pits ahead of Phoenix Racing? Herberger pushing the Audi to its limit. Every tenth of a second counts. The tension couldn't be higher. As Shane Lewis came out of fueling, everyone was looking back down the straight for Sven Herberger in the black and yellow Phoenix Racing Audi, but it wasn't in sight. Lewis, with a margin of 30 seconds, held the lead. The race seemed to be decided, but who knows what would happen in the last 30 minutes. One team was rewarded before the checkered flag fell. Team ACP Tangerine Associates received the Spirit of the Race Award for their tireless motivation to get their car back on track after hours and hours in the pit lane. They continued racing without having any chance for a podium position.
Thank you very much, Peter. Like I said, this is really for all of our mechanics who did an incredible job all through the race, all through the night. Keep on searching, and I'm so proud of them what they achieved today.
Now time to honour the class winners at the Hankook 24 Hours of Portimao. Red Ant Racing, number 903, first position in 992 class, ahead of their sister team. Well done on a great performance. Leipert Motorsport kept it together and brought home the victory in the GTX class with their 710 Huracan. Second place in GTX to the Lithuanian RD Science team. They did get their car fired up and back on track at the end of the race. In GT4, Katrina Kivalova of Ram Racing was persuaded by Phil Keane to bring the car to the checkered flag in first position. At the front of the field, CP Racing secured their first outright victory in the 24-hour series after a race-long battle with the GT3 Championship leader Phoenix Racing. Shane Lewis, completing his 60th 24-hour race this weekend, brought the car to the checkered flag after 718 laps at Portimao. In second position, Phoenix Racing were only 26 seconds behind the winning team at the flag. Another great result for the German squad and precious points for the overall rankings. WTM Racing and their Ferrari crossed the line in third position, but in post-race technical scrutineering they were disqualified as they didn't have a catalytic converter on the exhaust, and that was in direct contravention to the regulations. So Red Ant Racing were promoted to the overall podium. Shane Lewis brought the car back to Parc Fermé to celebrate this outstanding victory with his team.
It's awesome. You know, I just can't say enough about this Mercedes. You know, people came in saying, oh man, the Mercedes is not the car to have here. And we worked at it and worked at it and worked at it, and obviously Mercedes was the car to have here. But it was really more CP Racing was the team to have here. So just so honored to drive for these guys. Man, I love this series in Creventic. I love this racetrack. It is so much fun. It was a lot more fun with the pool, by the way. But yeah, it's just awesome, man. I'm, you know, my 60th 24-hour race of a lot of years, and to be able to finish that one with a win is pretty special.
In the TCE division, once again, it was the all-Thai BBR team who put together a phenomenal race and won the Hankook 24 Hours of Portimao with an incredible 32-lap gap to AC Motorsport in second.
For sure, it's super hard, also off the track and on the track. I would like to first to thank my team because they are absolute beasts this weekend. Everything was spot on. also my teammate, everything, every stint. And it's kind of like my turn to just bring the car home.
And so the prize giving. And whilst the gentlemen of CP Racing might be the oldest team on the grid, they know how to properly celebrate an amazing victory. Winners CP Racing, Phoenix in second, Red Ant in third. The trophies were handed over, and of course it didn't take long for the champagne shower to get started. Congratulations go to the winners in the TCE class, Team BBR from Thailand. Another great job from that team. AC Motorsport in second, and despite many challenges, Wolf Power Racing fought back to make it onto the podium in third. So confirming the GT category results, GT3 Ammon overall goes to CP Racing with the 85 AMG. Phoenix win GT3 Pro-Am in second. The Ferrari of WTM removed from the results after a post-race scrutineering infraction. That puts Red Ant Racing in the 992 category up to third overall. Leiper win GTX in fifth overall, and in seventh in the GT4 winner Ram Racing. Santalock Racing rounding up the top 8 in GT. The TCE category, all TCR cars are dominated by BBR with a 159. That's 4 race wins out of 5 races this season for them. Only the non-finish at Spa after the brake failure, the blot on their racing CV for 2022. AC in second, Wolf Power Racing in third. The Hankook 24 Hours of Portimao, a race that had it all. Drama, heartbreak, deep disappointment for some, but pure joy, relief and elation for those who got to the checkered flag. An uninterrupted 24 hours that saw the overall lead change hands between the first 2 teams 26 times. We now move on to the penultimate race of the year, just about an hour flight time east of Portimao to the Catalonian metropolis Barcelona, Spain. I'm John Hindorf, see you there.